everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Most Famous Person I Barely Met. I'm your host, John McCaffrey, and today I'm very delighted and happy, more than you can know, because I just had a little chat with this gentleman, and I'm amazed at our connections. But I want to introduce you to David Hicks. He is a fellow writer, author with the great publisher Vine Lease Press and more. He's also a creative writing professor, nice person, and more than the most important thing, he went to college in Rochester, New York, where I grew up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
hello, David. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm well, thank you. Go Naz, Golden Flyers. Remember
The
that?
Nazareth.
Golden Flyers.
I just found out he went to the same college as my sister, Jackie McCaffrey, now
Jackie.
Jackie Davis.
Shout
They
out to Jackie.
they know they know the same people, and I almost fell off my chair. But anyone I meet from Nazareth, David is very cool. So you got it there, and they look young. They look young. They look good. There was something in that Nazareth water. So, so tell me, where are you right now, though? Where are you living?
I'm in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My wife and I moved here from Colorado about almost 5 years ago when
Okay,
I got the job to be the creative writing director at Wilkes University for their low-res MFA program.
nice. And so you lived in Colorado for a while, but where are you? And I think you mentioned you're from the Bronx originally.
Lived in Colorado for almost 25 years, but originally from Westchester County, lower Westchester, Harrison, New York, which is about 10 miles from the Bronx. And I know you lived one time nearby
Yeah,
in
I lived in
Westchester County.
Hartsdale.
Yeah. So we were at some point we might have been neighbors. I don't know, but
We were
all right.
probably doing something together. We didn't
Yeah.
know.
All right. Saw you in Rochester,
I,
hanging out with your sister. I have no idea,
I'm
but we
trying.
bumped into each other before. I know that.
I've been to Harrison. I went to a graduation part. I went to Villanova. I graduated in '87. I went to a Bill Brasington. That's the last name I'm going to give you from Harrison, New York. I don't know if you know Bill.
No, I
Shout out
don't.
to Villanova, Bill Brasington.
Okay.
Um, so cool. How did a young man from the Bronx, from Harrison, get up to Rochester, New York, and Nazareth College?
Oh, well, I was I'm a first generation college student. My parents, one of them graduated high school. The other one, my mom came over to New York when she was to America when she was 17 from Italy. She's the
Wow.
only one in her family who came over. She met my dad. He was during the Korean War. He was stationed in Naples, and they
Okay.
met then. But so neither of them had been to college, and kind of left it up to us, my brother and sister and I, to kind of figure it out. And I was pretty good student in high school, so I was looking for a place that would give me a scholarship or something.
Uh-huh.
But that back then it was a lot cheaper, and you could sort of work your way through college.
Sure.
And I visited the Nazareth College campus. I visited several. My dad and I sort of went to, did the usual thing and saw a bunch of campuses. And Nazareth was the one I just fell in love with
So
from the
pretty there.
moment I got on campus. Yeah, I just love that place. It was small.
Mhm.
Had a music. I was at the time I was going to be a music major. They had a good music program, an arts program. Um, and it was just enough distance from my parents to sort of have it was like 6 hours away
That's
to
right.
get that kind of freedom, but also be able to come home on the occasional weekend.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
didn't go there in the middle of winter, right? You didn't know what.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was deceived by
Maybe you
the
had a
foliage.
Jenny Light, a Jenny
Yeah, I
Craig.
did have
You
it.
know,
Of course, I did. Yeah,
that
it was.
that that you know
Yeah,
that's how they got all their students. They gave them a
they
Jenny.
did. Yeah,
What instrument did you play?
I'm a saxophonist. I played sax and did a little background singing, but saxophone. And I found when I went to Nazareth that I made the mistake of taking a music theory course. I was going to be a music major,
Hmm.
and I didn't know until like the third week that it was music theory two. That part one had been like in the fall. I was taking it
Right,
in the spring,
right.
and I was just lost. And I made the decision then and there. I'm not a music major, and I also was the absolute worst musician in the jazz band by far.
Okay.
So I thought maybe not music, because all I really wanted to do was play rock and roll and that you could do
Yeah.
without a degree. So I switched over to, I love reading. I love writing.
Hmm.
I've been a reader since I was a little kid. My little sister died when I was young, and
Oh,
I
sorry.
the house grew very, very quiet, and I
Hmm.
just got absorbed in books.
Hmm.
I wrote about this in a children's book I published last year, but I became a reader, a very quiet kid, and I
Hmm.
love to read and write. So when I was in college, I thought I'll be an English major, and I really loved my professors and the whole experience of being an English major. I just absolutely loved it. I love that place. I made the most of it. I made a lot of friends and had a
Beautiful.
really good time. And yeah, so then when I was there, a very kind professor
Hmm.
mentioned that there's a master's degree, master's program at St. Bonaventure, which
Oh.
I'm betting you know, that had an opening for a graduate assistant who would teach composition in exchange for a free master's.
Hmm.
So I grabbed that. So I was teaching when I was 21, 22 years old.
Wow.
And then from there, I got a graduate assistantship into NYU for my PhD. So that's kind of how I, not accidentally exactly, but that's how I ended up being a professor.
Yeah, it's like the whole part of New York, right? I mean, there's,
Yeah, yeah,
you went
yeah,
from Rochester to Olean,
yeah.
St. Bonaventure, which I
Mm.
love. I love that school.
Great school.
And
Yes.
then you crossed back into the dark side. You went to the
Went home.
city,
Yeah,
right? It's like another planet for like a lot of upstate New Yorkers, like New York City's like
yeah.
bi-coastal, right? Like
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
other.
Oh,
And
it's completely different. Yeah.
how did you
But it,
find the two experiences? Well, it must have been
well, I grew up on the train
you were a
line
New
in New
Yorker.
York, in Harrison. So I would, my brother and I would go to Knicks games and, you
Sorry
know, it,
about that. I'm very sad right now.
yeah,
We'll get over it. We'll get
we
over
shouldn't
it.
talk about it.
No, no, we're not talking
Um,
about it. Okay.
but yeah, but I also liked upstate, except for the winters were just horrible up there.
Yeah.
But Nazareth had tunnels, so we were able to go yes, through the tunnels.
Had ropes
Um,
to get, your
but
shovels.
I love the New York. I love being NYU's in the Village. I love the
I
Village. I
love
love being
NYU
there.
too.
I lived with my parents for a while, and then I lived in Union City, New Jersey, Weehawken, New Jersey. Took the bus over for a brief period in Lower East Side.
Hmm.
So I still love it there, even though all the places I went to are gone. They're totally
No, I love
disappeared.
it. I lived in Hoboken forever,
Oh, sweet.
and
Yeah.
I used to take the PATH train. My offices
Yep.
were always for some reason like on 21st, 20 whatever, 23rd it
Yep.
was. And I invariably would go down lunchtime. I would always hang around NYU and
Yeah.
go to things like that. And
Yeah. It's
it's just
great.
a magical area. And one of our fellow Vine Leaves press people, author Jill Dearman, teaches at NYU.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if
I'll
you
have
know
to
this.
look her up.
I will. Yeah,
I
so
did
it
connect
feels
with
like,
Jill, but I didn't know she taught at NYU.
yeah, I know she did. She still does. And
Oh,
so it feels like we have parallel lives, but yours is a lot better. So how's that?
no, it's not.
I'm joking. That
You're
I'm
famous.
deprecating. I'm
You're a
deprecating.
famous
Um,
podcaster.
yeah, very famous. Well, this is gonna take Rochester by storm. Um,
Yes.
so tell me a little bit about so you were in Colorado for a while, right? Did you like Colorado?
For a long time. Yeah, it's really, I just went back on the first part of my book tour and I saw a lot of old friends and former students, some from like 20 years ago. And
Oh, wow.
it really became our home, my wife and my home.
Hmm.
Uh, it kind of felt like coming home when I was there. And it just kind of happened. I, over 20 years together there, and I was there out there a couple of years before that. We just kind of, it became our home. And it's
Yeah.
been an adjustment to be back on the East Coast with much grayer skies and a lot of rain and ice. Um, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's a lot more affordable, and the people are, I want to say, more real. There's a
Hmm.
grit to the people here that I like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good either way. And I hope to be able to. My son's still out in Colorado, so I hope to be able to go out there quite often
It's a
to see
beautiful.
him and to see my friends.
I've been lucky enough to go there. I went to Breckenridge once to ski.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful place. But I
Yeah.
saw on, your social media, because I've been following your book tour, you were so well received there. So you could see that there was a genuine affection for you there and happiness for your success.
Yeah, I felt that it made me so happy just
Yeah.
to read there and to see familiar faces in the audience. It was really quite gratifying.
And you spoke at your college's one of your colleges about you graduation, or what
Yeah, I
college
had
was
a
it out
I had
there?
a
Was that at that school?
no, it was at the school where I'm at now, Wilkes University. I'm the
Okay,
director
you
of creative
gave the
writing there.
commencement.
Yeah, I was asked to give a commencement address. It was really quite an honor. And that day, it was a fun day because I had the commencement address. I gave the commencement address that morning.
Hmm.
This is May 17th, Saturday. And that afternoon was my book launch party that my wife
Oh
threw
my,
for me
you don't get
at
days
our
like
at our
that.
local brewery. Yeah, so I had a commencement address and a book launch party the same day, and both were different kinds of fun. So
Yeah,
I'm at the age where I'm really just trying to enjoy. I'm working hard, harder than ever, but I'm really just
sure.
trying to enjoy when my writing comes out. It's just better than a birthday. It's better than anything
Yeah,
when your book comes
yeah,
out. It's just fantastic because you work for years, right? You work
yes,
for years at this book, and then it's there. And Vine Leaves
yeah,
did a fantastic job with the cover and
yeah.
um, the font and the layout, and it's just a
Beautiful book.
beautiful book.
Yeah. Well, you're 40 now. You gotta embrace.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I will put audience members. I will put a link to David's new book from Vine Leaves Press and others on this. Um, Very nice, very nice. Can you sum? I know it's hard. Can you sum up in like a few, I don't know, a couple minutes, maybe your speech, what you wanted to convey to the kids that were graduating?
Uh,
I know that's a hard thing to do, especially for a writer to
no,
have.
no, it's okay. I
But
ended up
sort of, what were the broad strokes? What were you trying to give the kids? What were you
It was
telling
a strange experience because I remember as a faculty member, I've been in like 30 something commencement ceremonies. So I've heard, I've been bored out of my mind most of the time.
them?
But it's the only time I'll ever be invited to, unless Nazareth College invites me, which I'd be happy to do. But it's
Listen,
probably
we'll do. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make.
okay. It's probably the only time I'll give a commencement address. So I just wanted to say everything, you know,
Sure.
but these were graduate students. This is a graduate commencement ceremony. So they're not 19, 20, they're not 22.
I see.
They're at all ages. Some of the programs are online, people from 24 to 74, like
Right.
from all over the world. Had made so many of whom had just come to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, to America for the first time for this
Hmm.
ceremony.
Wow.
So, I ended up deciding, like, let me just pick one, like, conceit or metaphor. And I ended up with the great metaphor. I don't know if you know this, John,
No,
of
maybe.
the bamboo plant.
No,
You know about that? It's
no. Tell me.
so good. It's so
Okay.
good. For
Let's hear.
writing, it's so good.
Let's hear it.
So the bamboo plant, yeah, you have to plant a seed for the bamboo plant. It's not a tree.
Uh-huh.
And you have to water that spot for 6, 7, 8 years
Whoa.
before you see anything. You have to just have
Really?
faith that, yes, you have to like water the whole field or whatever you're
Uh-huh.
doing
Uh-huh.
for at least, I think it's at least 5 years. It's an insane amount of time. And you just have to have faith
Mm,
that what's happening underground, the roots are growing really, really strong. They're down.
right.
Then when it does grow, it just shoots up like
Mm,
10, 30, 40, 50, 90, 100 feet.
mm.
It's just towering in just weeks. Like it just grows like an inch every hour. I'm probably exaggerating, but
Wow.
you could almost see it grow. So it's this great metaphor for like
It is.
going to college and graduate school, or especially for writers, you just have to do the work. You just have
That's right.
faith that at some
Have
point,
faith.
and yeah, and then just keep your head down and continue to cultivate. And then we've all heard the story. Now it's this year, it's me. I have 2 books in one year, but we've all heard the story of writers having like 2, 3 books
Sure.
in one year, and we think, wow, how prolific or how connected they must be.
Right.
But no, in every case that I know of, the writer has been working on these books for like a decade, and
That's right. That's right.
and it just happened that they got contracts for each one
That's right.
at that
No,
were
that's a
published around the same
beautiful
time.
story. Yeah, I mean, I have a very complicated. I really love the metaphor. I have a complicated relationship with bamboo because we have bamboo out here, and you
Yeah.
can't get rid of it either. And that's like writers too. You can't get rid of us. Like you got to you got to have dynamite to get bamboo out. But
I've never heard anyone say we've got a problem with bamboo.
I
That's
have a
great.
problem with bamboo. I love bamboo. There's the old saying out here. Maybe it's a different bamboo, but it's like you plant bamboo to hide a problem, then you have a problem. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right, right,
I
right.
really
Because it
like
keeps growing and it's very, very strong. It's hard to
Oh
get rid
my,
of.
and you're very well. The roots are
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's like chopping down a tree.
No, no, it's
And they use it to build houses in China. Like they used
well,
to build like 6-story buildings.
yeah.
Like it's
Well, I'm
it's
gonna
so
look at
strong.
it. I'm gonna look at my bamboo differently now,
There
David.
you go.
I'm gonna give it the credit it's due.
My
But
work here
it's
is
so
done.
true. It's so true. My MA program. I went in the '90s to City College in New York, and there was a lot of serious folks with writing and all that. But I can on my hand, those are still doing it. So
Yeah.
and it's a tough game. You got to kind of have faith. You got to want to do it, and
Yeah.
it's got to be important to you. But it does pay off, like everything else. So your new book, The Gospel According to Danny. Give me a little. What's that all about?
So it's different from my other books because it's very politically influenced. Like it's my first book, my first novel, White Plains, is kind of just autobiographical stories with
Oh,
very
nice.
little current events or politics in it. But this one is about a waiter named Danny. I've been a waiter named Danny Gospel. It's called The Gospel According to Danny.
Nice.
And this he's from South Yonkers near the Bronx, and he grows up in a poor neighborhood, and he just wants he we meet him at the beginning of the book. He's marrying a middle class Jewish girl named Leah, who's sort of an aspiring academic.
Hmm.
And Danny just wants to work hard, and he wants the American dream. He wants to make money, work hard and make money. But it starts in 2000, and Danny finds himself in an America that doesn't exist anymore. Like that America is not there anymore. You can't
Right.
just work hard and pay rent with your wages like that kind of make it. We're not upwardly mobile anymore. So he gets but he keeps working hard. But just a series of, I guess I could say, both personal and political atrocities and betrayals and lies.
Hmm.
Um, think about it. It's from the Bush Gore election through the Tea Party stuff, the school shootings, and then the Trump nomination. That all happened from 2000 to 2015.
Wow.
Kind of beat him down
Hmm.
till we're kind of left to wonder, and in particular, very big devastation, until we're kind of left to wonder what he can make of his, diminished self in this very divided country.
Hmm.
So it's a beach read, John. It's a light
Well,
laugh riot.
I listen. It seems important. And, Orwell says all writing is political, you
Yeah.
know, or you got to have something to say. How long did it take you to write it?
10 years, I think 10 years. I wrote it all in a draft. My wife gave me a writing retreat, like a cabin, and I wrote it all out. And that the final version is so different from the version. It doesn't even resemble it. It was a lot of, it was called The Gospel According to Danny because it was Danny was supposed to be dead, and his daughter finds his materials, and it's like diary entries, texts, po uh, what was that? Like blog posts, things like that.
Sure.
And then it changed to completely third person linear narrative, like just kind of a traditional narrative that kind of breaks down. It starts off with like long, funny paragraphs, like really lighthearted stuff, and then kind of gets more and more intense and breaks down as the book goes along until we have really small fragments at the end. Um,
Very
so
good.
it was worked over, and it
Yeah.
went from 165,000 words to 99,000.
It's
So
hard to cut those words. Hard to cut
yes,
those words.
yeah.
Wow.
I
The,
sent it to my agent, and she said, "Can you really have to cut cut this down. I go, what do I cut? I've been working out for years. And she's like, cut the unessential parts. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's
There
it's
are no unessential
just
parts. This is
take
my
out
point.
my heart, right? Just take,
Yeah,
just cut me.
yeah,
That's part of it. That's part of it. That's why so few do it.
yes.
It's not easy to kill these things, and but
Kill the darlings. Yeah, but
it
she was
takes
right. She was absolutely right. I mean,
no, and you got to
there were,
find, the whole thing. What I always feel is just how do I tell this the best way? You know what I mean?
yeah,
How do I tell
right,
this the best way and finding your voice? And there's a lot of battles that go into that. But
right.
10 years sounds about right to me. So, and
I think,
what's, I'm sorry.
no, I think you brought up the hardest thing for me is voice. The hardest,
Yeah,
absolutely. Point of view is the most important thing
yeah,
to really like revise a whole book, just point of view. But the hardest thing for me has been, I think I'm getting it more now, but has been to develop a really good narrative voice, an interesting narrative voice,
yeah,
like a voice with a kind of investment in the story they're telling. It's
yes,
instead of kind of this neutral white guy voice that I had been writing in,
yeah,
um, this kind of safe voice. Now I'm a little better with voice, but it's taken a long time, a lot of reading to
yeah.
figure that out.
No, I was writing for a long time. Then I kept reading Somerset Maugham, and I loved his prose
Nice.
style. And it's like I always, my analogy is like a golfer changing his swing. I just decided
Yeah.
I'm going to mimic it, and I broke everything down to try to write that kind of clean prose. And but
Yes.
and we evolve as people. We're not the same people we were 10 years ago. So that's
Right.
how do I always see it, we're always scratching the same itch, no
Hmm.
matter what age we're writing with it, but our voice changes and our needs
Yeah.
change. But well, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to reading it. I will read it, and I'm going to encourage everyone out there to read it and then write David and then go up to Nazareth with him when he's doing his commencement speech.
Thank you.
Well, this is a lot of fun. Maybe I'm thinking of doing just a writer podcast for a while. I'll have you back. We'll just talk writing. But
Okay.
but the people are in the seats because they want to know David
Right.
Hicks.
Yes.
They
What's the name
want
of
to
this
know
podcast?
the big question. Who
Yes.
is the most famous person that you barely met?
It's Willie Mays. The
Oh,
greatest, and I would die on this hill, John, if you want to fight me. The
I
greatest
will
baseball
not. I will
player,
not. I will not.
greatest baseball player who ever lived.
All right, talk to me. Tell us the story.
So I was a waiter from like 18 to 33 or 4 or 5, actually, really for a long time, in
Okay.
addition to being a professor. And I was waiting tables, and I can't remember the club. I waited tables at country clubs, but I waited tables at like diners and Italian restaurants, but two Westchester County country clubs, which are really exclusive, and you have to dress really nicely and you have to be well behaved as a waiter. You have to learn French service and all that stuff. So
Okay.
I was at this country club serving dinner, and I was just going about my business, and at corner of my eye, I saw a familiar face. Also, for Westchester Country Club, one of the very few black men in the place, right?
Right.
And I sort of did a double take, and it was Willie Mays. And so Willie Mays was, kind of before my time. He played in the 50s and 60s. He played actually in the Negro Leagues before he came to the majors, and then I knew him on the Mets the last 2 years, and he was a pathetic shell of himself, but he still averaged like over 300 and 660 home runs, and
Right. Right.
spent 2 years in the war. And
Brilliant.
Leo DeRocher told him not to hit home runs for a couple of years. Like he would have broken Babe Ruth. Anyway, um, an idol, and particularly my brother's idol because he was a San Francisco Giants fan. But
Okay.
really, I just thought he was when I was that age. I was probably around 20, in my early 20s. I just considered him the greatest baseball player who ever lived, and I was a big baseball fan, and I loved him. I
Hmm.
mean, I adored him,
Right.
and I saw him, and I made the only mistake I had ever made as a waiter,
Yeah.
which is I spilled gazpacho, which has a distinct color,
Yeah.
onto just a little bit, like a little blurb,
Uh-huh.
onto this woman's white coat, white
Okay.
jacket.
Okay.
staining this very expensive, you know, uh, jacket or whatever it was, like a linen,
Yeah.
and she freaked out. She flipped out.
Okay.
Manager came over and all that. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Willie Mays and I'm thinking, I gotta say hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go, so if I, we placated the woman, dry clean, all that stuff. We made
Hmm.
arrangements. Later, little later, I went into the kitchen. I was like, I gotta say it. I gotta tell him you're the
Hmm.
greatest ever. Like I love watching you play. You're amazing. Like I was a center fielder. I modeled myself after Willie Mays. Almost as good.
Yeah.
And so I went up to him. I went up to his table. But it's a country club. A waiter
Sure.
can't go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to do it. Um, and he was just obliterated drunk, like just out of his mind,
Really?
glassy eyed,
Uh-huh.
just, and I like, Mr. Mays, you're the greatest. And he's like,
Get
whatever,
away from
kid.
me with that soup.
I've, I think I've heard, yeah, I saw what you do with the soup. Error E9. So I just walked away, like, humiliated. And
Wow.
it's kind of like seeing your idol
Yeah.
and he's just
Yeah.
not in a very best shape. I mean,
No.
I myself ended up being blotto drunk on many of occasions. Like I wasn't judging him,
No, I
but
understand that
but
totally.
I was like, oh
It was a
man,
little letdown,
it was a
right?
letdown. Yeah.
But
But I
but
still got to see him. I still got to see him, and
yes,
I
yes.
sort of communicated to him in a mumbly way, Mr. Mays, you're the greatest who ever lived. And I don't know, he didn't hear it.
He woke up in a dead sleep that night.
Yeah.
My God. Um, that was a really good story. That's really
Yeah.
good. I
That's all I
mean,
got, John.
I enjoyed that. I mean, my father was a huge baseball fan. I was a baseball fan too, but my dad loved the Brooklyn Dodgers. He grew up in Long Island.
My dad did
He,
too, yeah.
yeah, he loved Jackie Robinson and Pete
Yes.
Reese and all that. And of course, he used to always tell me about Willie Mays. And
Yeah.
I remember him just a little bit when I was a kid playing for the Mets. But I was a huge sports fan, still am. And I
Yeah.
read everything about his catch against Vic Wertz in the Cleveland,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yeah.
Say Hey Willie, right? Say Hey,
Yep.
just a
Yep.
say hey guy. But I guess he was also saying hey to a few cocktails in his world.
Yes, he was. Good segue. I like that.
And I think he's the godfather of Barry Bonds. Was that the?
I think you're right. Yeah. He was just,
But he was a hell
for
of
the
a
youngsters
player.
out there. Yeah. The best fielder I've ever seen.
Fast.
Best hitter
Yeah,
I've ever seen.
yeah.
Super fast, lots of stolen bases.
In it was Mickey Mantle, Duke Snyder, and him, right? The three center fielders in New York.
Yep. DiMaggio too.
Maggio, yeah.
Yeah.
The first podcast I did here with this, my friend Mark Singer, he talked about baseball. He had a baseball. He went to a Yankees. He was a Yankee nut, and he went where Ralph Houck signed his baseball, and everyone. But he talked about going to the watching Willie Mays too.
Yeah.
And wow,
Yeah.
I want to know who that woman is. Did you know what I mean with the gazpacho?
No,
For a
she
minute,
just doesn't matter.
I thought you were going to spill gazpacho on Willie Mays and he was going to catch it because he was
That
so
would have been a better that would have been a better story.
he's
But
so
no.
and he caught it with two hands, right? You know,
Right. Right.
like it.
Yeah.
That's a good story, David.
No.
You tell it well too. You're a storyteller.
I think
Um,
it's the first time I've ever told it.
well,
Maybe the second.
let the healing begin. Let the healing begin. That's what we're
Yes.
all about here. We're
Yes.
healing. I know Willie's not with us, but if his family hears this, let's 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 reach out. Let's reach out. Um,
Still my idol. Did not change
so
the things at
it's
all.
okay.
Just caught him on a bad day.
Maybe it was he just had a rough day or whatever, or probably not. So
He seemed to be having a fine day. He was,
he had a good time. He had a
yes, he
good
was
time.
fine.
Well, so what's next for you, David? Well, thank you for that story.
Yeah.
What are you writing next? What are you working on?
Yeah, in the summer and fall, what's immediately next for me is the Wilkes University residency. We have like 95 students and 25 faculty and 8 days of it's like a big conference. So
Okay.
I'm gearing up for that. It starts next Friday. But then I'm going to do a little more touring for the Gospel According to Danny, the summer and fall. and I'm finishing up a book about 3 days, like a month-long trip to Italy. The
Oh,
last 3 days of which there was a Brady Seism, which is kind of a where my mother grew up, right under her apartment building. The
uh-huh.
land kind of rises and falls through these kind of they're called Brady Seisms through quakes. And
Uh-huh.
I was there a year when it was happening. And so it's about me as a youngster in this place where there's this kind of undercurrent of, under the city where my mother grew up is the second century Roman city
Mm.
of Italy. So there's a city under the city, and I was missing my sister, and that's lying under everything I do.
Oh,
So I'm writing about that in a kind of rhapsodic kind of way, very different from the
sure.
Gospel according to Danny,
Sure. Sure.
and a Cinema Paradiso kind of way.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
I'm finishing that up, and I'll probably try to get that published soon.
Beautiful. Well, it's been real pleasure meeting you, and I can't believe all our connections. And um, I- folks out there, I'm going to put David's link to his books and things. So
Thank you.
please, I always say buy one, buy 100. You know what I mean? Buy a lot.
Yeah.
And you can find him, and you can ask him more about Willie Mays serving, and everything good. If you like what you're hearing, like and subscribe, please. Never miss an episode. We'll have David back. We'll talk writing. We'll jog his memory. Maybe there's other drunk patrons that you might know.
Yes, there are.
But
Thank you,
thank you
John.
so much, David. And
Yeah.
we'll see you out there. Okay.
Okay. Take
Bye bye.
care.
Bye bye.